It's difficult to grow if you cannot handle loneliness. Some people might get it as loneliness means it's something negative. No, it is what it is, lonely.
Life has everything. Just like a weather, cloudy, raining, snow, windy, hot, cold. Life has everything. Understand that?
We end up with this kind of mantra, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, but that never really comes. And finally we start to get older and older and older, and we're still thinking, I only want to be happy, but I'm not there yet.
Today's video was sponsored by Huel, a quick, affordable, nutritionally complete source of food with everything that your body needs. They've just sent me their new super greens. I'm gonna be trying these out later on. If you wanna find out more, head to the link in the description. I think personally, just for the fact of lead with your actions, you know, we say actions speak louder than words, but I think in combination, like you have to have the action. Social media today, everybody can speak, everybody can talk, yeah, but no actions.
That's why I say talk is good. I also do this. I say, talk is good. Blah, 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 blah. Talk too much make people tired. Yeah. Show me how much you love me. Show me how much you can do. Demonstrate. You're speaking beautiful. Yeah. Let me see how much you can do. Be honest with yourself. That's what I can represent Shaolin Temple. That's what I try to explain to you. I can explain to you right now. Shaolin Temple martial arts, only, for example, are few forms. In the Chinese martial arts area, in Chinese culture, they draw a line. Shaolin Temple martial art is external. They draw a line in Wu-Tang martial arts is internal. Yes, for example, Tai Chi. For example, Tai Chi Chuan. Internal. Yeah. Heng Yi. Yeah, Ba Gua. They draw a line. You talk about internal, external, I have it. You talk about different kind of flavors, variety, handsome Shifu right here. I describing myself. Life, dictionary of martial arts. I have it.
You talk about as a child, you know, the discipline that your parents gave you, that your masters gave you. And today, you're right, some people would call it abuse. But I personally see it as extremely important. It's why I think athletes thrive after, you know, their careers, you know, because they've had to have discipline to become a great athlete. How important is it to have that in your life, to have structure and discipline?
Discipline is the most important thing in our lives, in a human life. Doesn't matter if from United States, United Kingdom, China, Europe, Russia, South America, wherever you come from. Discipline is the most important thing in human life, in people's life. You have to discipline yourself. You don't discipline yourself, doesn't make sense. You not appreciate you have a great life. You not appreciate you have a precious life, life of purpose. You appreciate your life right here, the purposely to live. Do something meaningful for yourself, for other people, for the world. That's why you're here. Appreciate. Yeah, that's what that we take self-discipline. I'm tired. I don't want to get up to exercise my precious life. I'm tired. I don't want to go to study. I'm tired. I don't want to go to work. Call in. I'm not feeling well. Look, life has everything. Just like a weather. Cloudy, raining, snow, windy, hot, cold. Life has everything. Understand that? Don't let this kind of like cold, hot, I don't feel good, start to make excuses in life. When you start to make excuses all around you, like doom. you cannot go over, because you already build relationship with excuses. Excuses loves you, you love excuses. Go ahead, continue to damage yourself. Yeah, continue to destroy your life. Don't do that. I suggest everybody stand tall, be proud, appreciate, understand purpose you're here. Yeah, do something meaningful for yourself. Yeah, stay in front of the mirror. That's why I said mirror around you. 360 degrees, look at yourself. Why I treat myself like this? Why I treat myself like nothing? You know what I mean? Why I disrespect myself? Why I'm here, wasting my life? Don't do that. Stand tall, be proud, live life with purpose. In front of the mirror, look at yourself. Let me do something. Yeah, later on, you get out of here, go underground, leave. You turn ahead, look at, I did good, my life. You feel good. Yeah. Don't regret afterwards, 40 years later, 50 years later, why I left a life like that. Yeah, you slap your face, too late. You know what I mean? You ask yourself, too late. Yeah. From now, this moment.
The world that I'm from, I told you, I'm on this kind of spiritual path now. But the world that I'm from was very goal-orientated, business-driven, entrepreneurship, athletes, and hedonistic highs and dopamine hits were the carrot that was dangled as the reward for those things, the flash car, the, like sex, drugs, rock and roll, all that kind of stuff. And we are taught that, I think, especially in today's world of social media, that's the thing that to aspire to, almost like worshipped upon by millions and millions of people. How do you get the switch? I mean, have you seen people from those worlds have that pivotal moment where they understand that actually it's already there if I choose for it to already be there? Like the inner peace and the happiness can already be there if I start to choose that.
Yeah.
And it's not in the things.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I've got a few answers for you. It's an interesting question because, I've taught in cities all over the world, like Sydney and London and so on. And sometimes the people listening, their whole life is this kind of worldly ambition. And sometimes it can sort of sound like they're being told, no, like, don't do that anymore. But I don't know if I would go to the extreme of saying that. I like the idea of being more informed about spiritual matters and creating, as I said, like a union of living the life that you sort of have the karma to live, but knowing that if you go to the extreme of that, there's no reward in the end. Ultimately, you won't have anything because you won't be prepared for aging, sickness, and death. Because when those things come, you won't be able to do the things that you've been doing. So I feel like people need to know that. But I wouldn't go to the extreme of saying there's not necessarily anything wrong with living that life, providing it's unified with their own internal spiritual development. Otherwise, we're excluding a vast part of society. And I just feel like nobody needs to be excluded, Everybody is welcome. Everybody needs it. And, why not find the magic of unifying your business career with a spiritual life? I think it's possible. But I got this great story, and I was probably young, new, and unskillful. But when I was working in the bank in Sydney, in these corporate settings, you have like a cubicle with a desk, and the bank that I used to work for, they used to have a recruitment program, graduate program, where they would take the cream of Sydney's graduates and then train them, groom them to become the future leaders of the organization. And so these were kind of highly driven people, And I was working at my desk, and one of these graduates came over and leant on my partition and said, "What's your 10-year plan?" Like this. Now, I had just begun to study Buddhism, and the topic I was studying was death. It was my first formal Buddhist studies was on death, which is to this day, it's one of my favorite meditations. And the only thing that came to my mind, he said, "What's your 10-year goal?" And the only thing that came to my mind was, hopefully, not to be dead. And of course, he's just completely confused by this. Like, it's a kind of crazy thing to say in the office. And then I said, so I'll put it back onto him. I said, so tell me, what's your plan, your goal? And he said, I'm going to be this kind of manager. He had this goal plan. I said, what's your 20-year goal? And would you believe he had a 20-year goal plan? It was to be some regional leader, manager. But he even had a 30-year plan, like he had his entire life mapped out, right? And then he didn't have a 40-year goal. I asked him, do you have a 40-year? And I thought, you know, you can't have much working life ahead of you at 40 years from now anyway, like. And I thought to myself, I didn't say it to him, but I thought to myself, as soon as you reach that 10-year goal, it will be immediately replaced by the 20-year goal. So you will never really have time to enjoy it because you'll be driven on to the next goal. And this will happen all through your life until you're retired and you don't have any purpose anymore. And there's an Indian teacher called Shantideva, ancient 8th century Indian master. And he said, human beings, they're like a horse that's forced to drag a heavy cart. And whenever they stop to enjoy a mouthful of grass, their impatient owner beats them on. And he said, with desire, worldly desire like this, he said, we're like this because we never reach a point where we can just be and just start to enjoy peace and contentment and happiness. Our desire beats us on to the next goal. And what it does in the end is it cheapens our life because we end up with this kind of mantra that underscores our life. You know, I'll be happy when. But that never really comes. And finally we start to get older and older and older and we're still thinking, I only want to be happy, but I'm not there yet.
I mean, you're speaking to somebody who is I'll be happy when. You know, that's something I'm trying to make less a part of that. You know, but I do enjoy also the journey. It makes me happy to be in pursuit of something. I find that quite rewarding. Maybe it's because I feel I have a noble goal, so it feels like I'm doing it for a reason. So possibly that's why I enjoy it. But with sort of the typical goals like to win a BAFTA or to do this, you know, for me, that's like, when I get that, I will be happy. And I know that I won't be, like, I'm very, you know, aware that I won't be. It's hard to not invest in that in some way or to let go. I feel that I've been rewarded in life through that need or desire for something, because it's kind of it's pulled me along, it's taken me through difficult situations into better situations. And I guess we're probably talking about finding that peace prior to embarking on those journeys then. But I mean, we spoke about this before, like people from maybe a council estate or someone who's in a difficult job role or supporting their family and their kids, is finding that inner peace prior is very, very difficult. It's a hard situation to. Sometimes I feel like it has to be, like you said, a fork in the road at some point, and tragedies hit or something's really happened to somebody to go, right, this is just not for me anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe we reach a conclusion that this is not for me, or we just simply reach the conclusion it's not enough to protect me from emotional and physical trauma. You know, as we mentioned earlier, I think it's just important that our eyes are open to the fact that these things don't necessarily protect us. They function very, very well while we have the physical and mental conditions to be able to do them. But if we put all of our eggs in that basket, which most people do, is nothing unusual, but then when we reach the latter part of our life, if we haven't built up any inner resources, we're not going to have anything to truly rely on. And if those things do, for whatever reason, get taken away from us, we don't want that to also rip away our self-esteem, sense of self-worth and self-confidence, and a general happiness as well.
When we spoke in the last interview, you'd mentioned the word loneliness a few times. And I'm really interested to hear your definition and also your experience with it. Because I know for a fact, especially after COVID, it's been like young men experiencing loneliness has been this huge issue, I would say, in society. I think even myself and my brothers have experienced it at times. But when you say loneliness, do you mean being alone, or do you mean like feeling lonely, like there was no one there for you? Does that make sense, the distinction in the two?
So the loneliness I describe is not the way how I said it or mean it. It's not that I was lacking people around me. Okay, I'm constantly somehow involved in events, having training, all of these things. What makes it lonely is not even necessarily that I don't have a connection with other, let's say, soul brothers, soul sisters, where we know that there is a support. The loneliness is in regards to the path that you are walking. Yeah, being inside with you guys, for example, for the last 2-3 days, beyond the fact of that we're physically close, but I feel there is even another connection, another layer beyond that. That layer of, okay, you could also be like a brother with another job, with another vision, okay? So, of course, there is also this type of connection. But the loneliness I say is, yeah, but sometimes you're going to go back to UK. Once we meet, the connection is back. But then there is still that loneliness of, it's your life. Yeah, and it's the questioning of what to do next, this type of loneliness. Okay, and the more you want to move on, the more you spend time being lonely. This is like the type of loneliness like I'm also referring to.
I'm lucky I've got my brothers and sisters, because we feel like we're on the same purpose, the same path. And I've never felt lonely on that journey. And then I'd say recently, I've had people come into my life that have been like brothers and sisters to me as well, on the path of doing that. So was it that you found people in those, on that same journey or same path, or supported you, that made you feel less lonely?
Yes. So this is actually more or less why we have this community right now. So more or less, the people you find right now in the Shaolin Temple Europe, this is the core. Yeah, this is the one that influenced me the most. These are the ones I have some impact on. Let's say like this, okay? And this constellation, it's good, because like this temple, this community is the baby, is all of our childs, okay? In regards to the temple, but in regards to life, each one is also lonely.
Yeah, I get, that's it. You're all right. This was the funny thing when you were speaking about it yesterday, and I had this picture for a video or documentary. We didn't go with it, but there's probably a highlight around it. But that almost like lone wolf mentality, and we've spoken about connection and having community and support, and with the Shaolin Temple, you have that in a huge way. But then I've always found comfort in, it is on me, and everything for me, my internal experience is on me. Whether I'm happy, whether I'm sad, whether I achieve success, whether I have good relationships, like I always find a level of comfort in going, it's on you, and you are the one to blame if it goes wrong. You are the one to praise if it succeeds, whatever. But that has always been a huge thing to me. I mean, is that something that you have as well, some kind of mentality, or is it all based in community?
No, I mean, these are, of course, the thoughts that also like fill up my mind. But that's exactly it, yeah. This internal dialogue.
Yeah.
The more you want to develop, the more dialogue you will have to have.
Yeah.
This is what it is. And even while being surrounded in a community, but at the end, when you're doing something, when you do your training, when you do your office work, it's still like you are alone. And you observe yourself in which state you are actually. So this more or less, some people might get it as loneliness means it's something negative. No, it is what it is, lonely.
Yeah.
So, and if you think that I can't handle loneliness, it's difficult to grow. Yeah, it's difficult to grow if you cannot handle loneliness.
And that's really reassuring to hear, because like I've had the stages of loneliness where I felt like this is on me, it's on my back, I'm going to do this, and this is the path I want to go in. And then I've on the flip side of that, I've realized that also, and this is the other message I want to put out there, is that there's huge growth in connection and community as well. And it's like you need to be able to do both. You need. That's for me personally. Like I don't want to stick to being a one-man band. I don't believe in self-made. I don't think that you can ever do it fully by yourself. I personally don't think people have had true success without at least standing on the giants before them who paved the path, and most likely circumstance with the people who were around them at the time as well, who helped them get where, however it was. I've only just really had that over the last three or 4 years, where I've started to really try and invest in other people and have them help me on my path, have them, tell me when I'm wrong, and, try and take that on the chin and be part of a community and inspire each other. And I started to really speak about, getting mentors and having basically what you do, like try and find masters and learn from them. And it could be anything. Like I think some people go, well, I'm a filmmaker, so I have to have a mentor in filmmaking. But like, to me, a master could be my mother. She could be great at a certain thing, and she could be the master for me in certain things, and I'll take those lessons that I find extremely valuable from her. It could be literally, it could be a relationship, someone who's got a great relationship, and I could take their knowledge and wisdom on relationships and, maybe discard the things I don't think are growthful for me in business. I think there's that thing of like learning from other people. It could be books as well, like, the stories I love autobiographies. They could be books. I should refer them to read your book, actually, coming out in English soon, hopefully. Yeah,
it's going to happen, but take some time.
What's the book about? Is it all autobiographical, or?
I actually had some conversation with your brother before. I don't even know how to call it. So initially the idea was, like I said, many people have different ways of how they can get in contact with something. Some through the social media, some through a movie, some through like podcasts, and other people through reading. So that there is a book was not like I wanted to have a book. It was just a logical consequence of having the possibility, if somebody likes to read, in order to get to all these topics that we are sharing through the channel, for example, then there's also like a book about it. So meaning everything in the last 36 years that I regard as, because of course the book is limited. In that case, I had like 288 pages. So for 288 pages, this is what I have put in from the last 36 years. 36 years condensed into these pages. Yeah. Of course, it's limited in knowledge, but it still is enough. It's enough to get it. Okay. And this was like just the point about why I'm happy in a way that it also manifested, let's say like this.
We were speaking before this about the idea of, in, I would say, America, the UK, I think like when you're in like your 40s and 50s, 40s, people start to say we're on a physically declining, we're getting unhealthier, and we're, you know, too old, you know, and, you know, I see you so youthful. Like, is there a method to that? Is there something that you'd practice that keeps you feeling that young all the time?
I feel better every day. I feel young every day. I feel better every day, believe it or not. I feel so good. That's why I said, my life, my God. I don't want to fall asleep. I still miss a lot of things to see. Like, you know, like a Steven Tyler thing. I don't want to miss anything. You know, I don't fall asleep. I still love you, baby. I still love you, baby. Like that kind of things, you know. I don't want, that's why I encourage people, you know, stop making excuses in life. You know, I don't feel good. Too hot outside too cold. You know, as long as we're alive, good, bad, ugly, there's things you like it, there's things you don't like it, also come through our lives. But you understand that. Understand, as long as we're alive, always different kind of things come to our lives. You have to understand how to appreciate. Life needs that. Just like eating food. The sweets, everybody loves sweets. It tastes good, yeah, sweet. The spices, we need it too. The bitter, we need it too. Yeah, the sour, vinegar, we need it too. For example, let's talk about vinegar, yeah? Good for your skin. Yeah, to catch shi qi, like in your joints. Shi qi means like a negative qi in your joints can kick out. Can make your skin look beautiful. Yeah. When you practice iron palm, iron fist, iron body, you need a lot of vinegar to make up, to boil it with different herbs. Lots of vinegar. Yeah. You see the people on the TV, on the YouTube right now, people who sitting in the boiling the pot, oil. I tell you now, there's a lot of vinegar inside. Look at boiling, everybody can sit inside. Vinegar has a lot of things to give us in our lives. Beautiful. For example, you clean the rusty things with vinegar very quickly. You know what I mean? The clothes you wear, clothes smells not good. Use vinegar a little bit, wash it, can take a small weight. A lot of things can be used. Vinegar, yeah, can help us.
I've accidentally used apple cider vinegar quite a lot for like my stomach and stuff. It's helped massively. It's been amazing, like drinking it. But I'll try on my knees. My knees, they got some rust in there.
Yeah, this is good for you, and also very good for the skin.
I have to give that a go.
Yeah. Also, now about life, the other part, chilies, spices, kill germs. Kill germs. I eat chilies every day. Yeah, kill germs. Everybody, you know, you eat food, you never know you're eating. You know what I mean? Food. You know, the reality is, the food, you go to a restaurant, you buy food, you eat some germs. You eat chilies, you kill germs, they run away from you. They're scared. Yeah, they're dangerous. Yeah, some stuff, people need it. Yeah, that's why I said life has everything. Every flavors, we need it in life. That's why I said stop to make excuses. Too hot, too cold, raining, snow. That's part of life. Just imagine that's like a food. We need that. Imagine we live out with that. We cannot live life.
Huel have just sent me their new daily greens. If you want to find out more, head to the link down below. It's the most convenient way of getting everything that your body needs. It takes 10 seconds to prepare. I'm now gonna hit this every single morning along with one of their shakes throughout the day. That saves me so much time when we're flying around the world with all our equipment, we're doing these podcast episodes, to know that I can get all of this nutrients, the minerals, the vitamins in 10 seconds is mind-blowing. So if you want to find out more, head to the link down below where you can get Huel. Did I mention that it's absolutely delicious? Because it really is absolutely delicious. All of their products are down below. Can we learn and gain perspective through choosing to do something difficult?
I think choosing to do something difficult in order to help someone else is one of the greatest virtues ever. I mean, it's like sacrificing your own sort of pleasant conditions in order to bring happiness or help to someone else, I think is incredible. I think that destroys the self-focused mind that we talked about earlier, you know, this self-love mind, what about me? If you can kind of like cut through that by thinking, I'm going to put someone else before me, I think this is one of the greatest acts of beauty that you could actually do and will bring you great joy in the longer run. I mean, I feel like that's what mothers do, isn't it? You know, like, and fathers to an extent, but if you think what a mother will go through for her child, you know, a mother is a person who would gladly give up her own life for someone else, for her child. And that mind is one of the most beautiful, virtuous, sunshine minds that could ever exist in the universe. And I think if you could develop that to any degree, the ability or the wish to go through a hardship in order to make someone else's life better, then I think you found the meaning of your life. You're a very, very special person. I think with respect to like going through a feat, possibly that's also stupid. Like if you do something dangerous for the sake of pushing yourself to an extreme, you could affect your precious human life. Like if we have a life that gives us the ability to develop ourselves spiritually, to become the greatest being possible, and we use that to do a physical feat that could endanger our health or our life, possibly it wouldn't be wise. On the shrine, we have these water bowls, yeah? So we always make these offerings to the holy beings, and each bowl is symbolic of a different substance. But we use water principally because it's very important that you never make an offering with any kind of miserliness in the mind. So because water is a freely available substance, it can be a pure offering because you can make it a pure offering. In Australia, a lot of flies end up in those bowls. And so one of my practices was like getting the flies, rescuing the flies. I'd get a little tissue, twist the end, and I'd hook the fly out of the water and wait. And more often than not, they would recover and fly away. And it used to give me quite a sense of euphoria because I know it's only a fly, but the fact that it's still flying is because I rescued it. And it always used to have quite a nice effect on my mind because they would always look dead, just floating, lifeless. And I'd get one out, and if it survived, I'd think, it's still alive because of what I did. You know? Anyway, so this was the thing I was doing, was rescuing the flies from the water. Okay, now rewind 15, 20 years. I went out on this dive, scuba diving. We went 5 miles off the coast of Eastbourne. It was in the evening, it was dusk. We started to dive. When we got down to the seabed, we were looking for a shipwreck. When we got down to the seabed, because it was spring and the tide was turning, the current was extra strong. Now we carried with us, I don't know if you know about scuba, we carried with us an extra regulator mouthpiece. And we also had an inflatable buoy, a marker buoy. And what you do is, if you're moving along the seabed, you take your second mouthpiece and you inflate the marker buoy, and then you release it up to the surface. And then that way the guy on the boat, the skipper, can follow where you're going. Unbeknown to us, our marker buoy was faulty. So all the air leaked out before it reached the surface. It never reached the surface. We didn't know that. We decided to go with the current. So it was fast, it was running pace, like sprinting. So basically we were able to like fly along the seabed. It's a wonderful experience, you know. We're just flying along the seabed at sprinting pace in the current thinking the boat is following us. It was great, you know, like it's quite murky in the English Channel anyway, but you can still see occasionally fish kind of cruising around. After about an hour, we decided we needed to surface because we were low on air. We got to the surface, so you have to do the safety compression stops. But when we got to the surface, getting dark, and there was no boat. In fact, it was just water all the way to the horizon in every direction. And after a while, because it was getting dark, I think that my experience was a bit like what we talked about earlier with when someone you love is attacked. Like, if you're in that experience, I always thought if I was ever in an experience like that, I'd be terrified, you know. But when I was in that experience, I just felt sort of hopeless and helpless. And I had resigned to the fact that probably I was going to die and that was going to be the end. And after a while, we saw a boat on the horizon. Lucky we had halogen lamps because it's so dark anyway at the bottom. And we ended up getting rescued. And they rescued us quite far near Dover. So we'd kind of gone from Eastbourne to Dover. I think we were halfway to France or something by the time they found us. Anyway, they put us on the boat and they were so excited. The crew, the RNLI, that they found us. Dover Coast Guard had been sent to look for us, and so they also scrambled a helicopter, but the RNLI did find us. And when we got on the boat, and they said, they were so happy, you know, so excited. I said, why, like it's Sunday night, we called you out from your family, it's dark. Like, if you don't mind me asking, why are you so happy? And they said, oh yeah, there's a good reason we're so happy. This is the first time we had this call and found the divers. Like, this is the first time. And anyway, so fast forward again, I've got the tissue, I'm just rescuing the fly out of the water, and it's like all the stars like aligned in my mind. I realized, maybe I've been doing this for lifetimes, like rescuing creatures from water, and that's why they came and sort of scooped us out of the ocean. And so, but then looking back at that, even though I found that to be in the context of rescuing insects, I could see the teaching on karma that had been given. But I also felt like if I had died, I would have never had this opportunity to walk the path. So from then on, I always thought, now I'm going to be careful to use my life as wisely as possible.
I think something we spoke about a lot actually, but never put this terminology on it. And I don't know if you know of it by this terminology, but the law of attraction and how to use the law of attraction to manifest things into reality.
I heard about this terminology before, the law of attraction. I don't know necessarily how you would define it. But as I understand it, in a way, it is about, let's say, how to make something manifest that you want. If this is the case, then for me, starting very easily again, it starts with the smallest area inside of yourself. It starts with the smallest aspect. Let's just take it as the world of thoughts. But the world of thoughts is not graspable. The only one who knows about it is yourself. So wanting to manifest something is now the question, how can you start expressing what you feel deep inside of yourself in such a way that the world of forms start to mirror it. And so what you again therefore want is, it's about harmony. You actually want that something which is sitting inside of you gets into direct resonance with what we have available on the outside. And I don't think there is a magic formula for this. What I know is that 100% hard work helps. Simple like this. So I wouldn't say that just think about it, just make your wishful thinking, just make your prayers, depending on what type of prayers. But having something that you really want, spending your time to already manifest it in the mind as good as you can, meaning make it feelable. Make your thought already start to go into the area of you can feel it. You can feel it, how it has entered your life. This is already a first step of, okay, now it's not just thinking about it, now you even feel it. It maybe is not there material-wise, but you can sense already what type of an energy and in which type of fluctuation within the flow of life actually that wish would put you. Okay, so that means you visualize something maybe, or you go into deep prayer about this thought that you have. Okay, this is what I regard as being a prayer. It's not just talking words. It's about diving in and trying to create that feeling, calling up, cultivating that thought that it really starts to become feelable. So this is one of the initial steps. What we have right now is what you are thinking and what you're feeling already starts to be still in harmony. Okay? And now, practice and continuously and with patience. Stay with it. If it's important to you, stay with it. Keep on cultivating it, slowly, but give yourself some time. Everything that happens too quickly, which is changing the status quo too quickly, first of all, it's not helpful for us, and it most of the time is also destructive. But if you really want something, I think this is the way. Slowly, steadily, wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly meaning what? There is no doubt there. You are not doubting it. There's no doubt. It just means it hasn't manifested like in the way that it's right in front of the eyes, but just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. But why so pure-heartedly? Because only the heart is the one that is, let's say, connecting us humans together. Only the heart is like that area that I would regard as giving the possibility of connecting. The heart is like the highest instrument, if you would say like this, the highest antenna to spread out the connection. And if you are sending from the heart the signals out to the universe, that there is something that there is something you would like to receive. I think the best way to express it is when it comes from the heart. So that means because you already have it inside of you, because the heart is the magnet, because it's magnetic, that's why it pulls. That's why it pulls. Yeah, I express it now again, maybe a little bit fluffy again, but it attracts the energy which is surrounding all of us to finally manifest what thought, what emotion and what feeling and what wish and desire you have inside of that heart. It's pulling it towards you. And this is why now when energy, strong energy, starts to come into your life, well, in order for something to be created, we need a lot of energy. So the ultimate question is always, if you want to manifest something into your life, you need energy for that. And what is the highest energy in this universe that we have? Some people call it sexual energy, or it is love. It is the energy that carries the potential to create life. This is normally what happens when two people come together and then go into a partnership, go into a bond, and create out of love new life. There is no other energy that can create new life. Two people hate each other, how they create new life? Two people are jealous amongst each other, how they create life? No, there's only one thing. And so law of attraction, or however it's called, I think it is based upon these type of thoughts. I don't know specifically, but once you are the magnet, you're pulling something towards you. This goes for all the positive things that you feel during the day or what you're cultivating, but especially like the negative. And I think even, maybe if you are constantly thinking about, worried about, fearful about something, this fear already went so strong that you feel it on a daily basis. And then you're wondering why it happens. This is also that sentence about the self-fulfilling prophecy. So self-fulfilling prophecy, law of attraction, for me, I think they belong to the same category right now. It's just when we talk about attraction, we relate it a little bit more to something, let's say, positive, because people most of the time want to attract something positive. Nobody wants to attract something negative. But if it is negative, well, then it's a prophecy. It's the same. Both of these things coming somehow from the same principle that makes this possible to happen. The yin and the yang. Electric, magnetic. One spreading outwards, one pulling towards. The forces of the universe. The forces upon which our existence, our way of thinking, our way of feeling, our way of acting, our way of behaving is always based upon. You talk, you bring the message out, you send something out. You send something out, other people receive it. Some people are electric, other people become magnetic. And this is that constant idea. Of course, I talk in pictures. But as soon as you are able to relate something about your life to this duality, then you know, okay, you are embedded into this way of life as well. You are part of all of this. So it makes sense to figure out for yourself, what is there more? Okay? Then also now, duality is like the very beginning, It's like yin and yang. This is what people know. Easy way also, now you have the symbol right in front of you. On the one side, the black hairfish, on the other side, the white hairfish. And now you draw a cross right with through the circle. So you have 4 areas right now. And there, what do you see? There is a small black area and a large black area. There's a small white area and a large white area. Where the large white area ends, the small black one begins, and vice versa. So the message is, there is not just duality. If you now dive deeper into it, you even see different transition phases. This is now the next step. There is a transition happening in the moment you are reaching a certain valley or a certain peak. If you have reached the top of the mountain, there's only one direction where it will go. Once you know this, once you can sense it in your own life, in your different life areas, how is it professional-wise, in your professional life, where are you standing? Do you have the feeling you are like in small growing mode? Are you already in super high expansion? In which state are you already, relation-wise? physical wise, mental health wise. No matter, there are so many areas where you can actually relate this model now to. But it just gives you an additional idea that, first of all, what is most probable to happen next, or what are the possibilities that can happen next. Yes, and this is now the part where philosophy, old teachings, I think, can be used for application, but not for knowing. So knowing these things and being able to talk years long about what the philosophy behind it is good. These are so-called professors maybe. But the main part is to find a way to relate all of these teachings into your life. You are the one who is supposed to benefit from these teachings. The ones that wrote it, the ones that delivered all of this, they're not here anymore in this world. They left it here in case they left it for you to get the message and make it better than them maybe did it. That's the reason why normally you want to leave something in this world in order to, let's say, support the upcoming generations to not go through all the mistakes and challenges and difficulties you might have had to face. So it's always about your life. It's never about blindly following something just because somebody told you to follow.
One thing that's really stood out for me is purpose, because we speak about it quite a lot. And I think I was curious as to, is the path to happiness through finding purpose through faith, teachings, religion, or can you find purpose outside that box, you know, through an endeavor to help people or serve people in a different way?
Yeah, great question. I think before we get into it, I'd like to also stress that the ordained path is not for everybody, and that it's not like Buddhism, and especially our school of Buddhism, it's not exclusive. You know, to practice a spiritual path or Buddhist spiritual path, you don't have to follow the ordained way of life. You can still dedicate yourself to a spiritual path, but your training is different. This is the training of what we would call union, like the union of life, like normal life, and spiritual development. And if you were going to take that path, you would want to use your experience of daily activities, work, relationships, raising the kids, dealing with the stresses and strains of life as your training ground for training your mind. And that's completely possible and is a great part of our tradition as well. In fact, one of the most loved teachers in our tradition is not a monk. You might have seen on the front of the building but these big posters, because we have a senior teacher coming, our teacher from New York City. Maybe you guys can check him out the next time you're here. He's one of our most senior and most loved teachers, but he's not a monk. He's what we would call a lay practitioner. But in terms of your question about purpose, meaning, direction, I think you sort of hit the nail on the head. Like there's two aspects to spiritual development, I believe, give your life purpose and direction, meaning. One is the quest for happiness, which we touched on already. You know, like according to Buddha, every single living being, including insects and animals, have the principal wish to be happy all the time. And in every decision that they subsequently make is informed and motivated by this wish. So everything we do in life is motivated by, I want to be happy. And some people might argue, well, you know, sometimes I do things I don't want to do. But when you do things you don't want to do, you're motivated by the consequence of not doing it. But it's still related to the overall wish, I want to be happy. Like, you know that if you don't do this thing, consequently, it's going to affect your happiness in some way. And so it's interesting, you know, like if you feel that you've found in life the thing that makes you happy and that motivates you, the quality of what you do is up here. But if you're motivated by the consequence of not doing it, the quality is down here. Like if you think of a job that you hate, how well will you do that job? You will do it enough that you won't get fired because you fear the consequences of losing your job, which will affect your overall happiness. But if you feel that that job is where you get your happiness, then you will put your whole heart into it. So there's a sort of psychology of life that begins with this aspiration, I want to be happy. And I guess from a spiritual perspective, either as a layperson or as a monk or a nun, it's the psychology of a spiritual practitioner is built entirely on this wish. And so what Buddha is saying is any subsequent wish that is in any way at odds with your principal wish, you're going away from the meaning of your life. And if your subsequent wishes and actions, activities are in line with your principal aspiration to be happy all the time, then you're finding the meaning of your life. Now this starts to get very profound because, once I was teaching on this in Australia, and in Australia it wasn't uncommon for people to a little bit heckle or shout stuff out, which was sort of part of the challenge and the fun of it and the journey. In Britain, everyone is much more well behaved. Anyway, there was one guy who said, well, I found the path to happiness because I found surfing. And he's like, well, surfing makes me happy, therefore it's in line with my wish to be happy, so I found a path. And I'll come back to that. And there was another guy I met that played rugby league. And he said, rugby league is a true source of happiness because I'm never happier when I'm running up and down the pitch with the ball. That's me, that's my place, that's my source of happiness. And so on the surface, it looks like, yeah, they found direction and meaning. But in a more profound way, if we go a little bit more subtle, actually they've not found the meaning of their life. They found really the very thing that's ultimately going to make them vulnerable. Like just with the guy with the rugby ball, with the rugby league guy, if he believes that playing rugby is the only source of his true happiness, then the more he's running, the happier he should become. But if I was running after him with a cattle prod, saying, no, don't slow down because I want you to be happy, the time would eventually come that the running itself would start to cause him first fatigue, and then physical pain, then agony, and then maybe even death, And as well as that, if he maintains the belief that the true source of his happiness is running on a pitch, when he reaches old age, he's going to enter a severe depression because the one thing that brings him joy will start to be pulled away from him. And so when you really analyze these things, same with the surfing guy, when you really analyze these things, actually, these are not truly giving them direction in life. They're leading them into a cul-de-sac because ultimately these things will be what hurts them. So finally, and of course you could argue that I'm biased because I've dedicated my life to the Buddhist path, but finally, I believe you have to say, if it's true that happiness is pleasant mental feelings arising from inner peace, then direction, meaning, purpose, from one point of view, can only be found in finding mental peace. Whatever you do in life, it has to give you mental peace. And then another thing that you touched on, and this is the second part to this, is about altruism, like trying to help others or trying to care for others, have compassion. Once we start to understand the meaning of happiness and the meaning of suffering, which we haven't really spoken about too much so far, but once we start to understand the meaning of happiness and we start to see how people are making so many mistakes about happiness, and these mistakes are often leading to addiction, depression, and all kinds of other problems in their life, if we can then start to become a guide for others, like dedicate our life, that doesn't necessarily mean interfering. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that I would walk around Leeds and say, all right, mate, you look miserable. You've probably got wrong aspirations. But in our heart, we start to become motivated to be the best person we can for the sake of guiding others to happiness. It may be that you have very little opportunity to put that into practice, like to actually help people. Those opportunities may become maybe few and far between, but you still find purpose in trying to become that person. And if you feel like, if you start to think, well, all right, I need to be out there helping people, then you slightly lost the aspiration, because you've already allowed yourself to become dependent. But if in your heart, again, this is coming from the point of a Buddhist monk, but if in your heart you're training yourself in inner peace and training yourself to find that peace for the benefit of all other living beings, there's no doubt that sooner or later those opportunities will come. But when they come, you're already in the right place to help, as opposed to thinking I've got to be out there fixing everybody, because that in itself is a dependency.